when you eat breakfast, remember that usually is, they say, eat breakfast like a king, lunch like a queen, and dinner like a pauper. So a lot of times earlier in the day is your largest meal.
People need to know this is not a foreign substance. It's actually created in the body, it's stored in the body, and it's found in actual foods that we eat, like proteins. It's found in meats, etc.
Well, it's actually helped me hack a lot of things as I've slowly passed the 50-yard dash line into how can I take better care of what I was gifted with at birth. And these things help me understand that the genes are the loaded gun, and the environment, or what I put on them, or how I treat this genetic information, that's actually what pulls the trigger.
Wait a minute, let me check the time. I'm 10 minutes past the time I was supposed to eat. We need to stop right now because it's time to eat. I know that. Am I hungry? No, not really, but I heard it was time to eat. Is meal timing that stressful? Does it have to be like that? I'm just playing around with you, but I'm serious about this. Is it that big of a deal? Let's talk about meal timing.
Well, one of the most important meals that we've been taught to eat is breakfast. Don't miss breakfast. Just don't miss breakfast. Well, I agree with not missing breakfast, but breakfast can be a different time for each individual. Well, what is breakfast? Breakfast is the time that you break your fast after you've had a good night's sleep. And that breakfast, when you eat breakfast, remember that usually is, they say, eat breakfast like a king, lunch like a queen, and dinner like a pauper. So a lot of times earlier in the day is your largest meal, and breakfast, of course, should consist of a protein and some sort of green to get the day started off right.
Well, and I think that breaking that fast is the most important meal because the body's been without food for a time. And if you never eat quote unquote breakfast, you're going to die. Think about that because you're not going to eat food. So breaking the fast is inevitable for life to be preserved. But as you mentioned, and I find this to be in the case in my own life, the first meal I eat, I am probably the hungriest, which would make sense in a healthy system. And so you mentioned this breakfast like a king, lunch like a queen, dinner like a pauper, practically meaning when you look at the size of the amount of food we bring in, it should be larger in the morning and smaller towards the evening. And in America, we've flipped that to the inverse of that, or the reverse of that, small, medium, and then extra large. And that's made us as a society extra large because it's not the way we're supposed to be. But we should always eat upon the idea it's not about calories, it's about nutrients, nutrient density. And I think that you mentioned previously in several shows the size of the stomach is how big?
The stomach is the size of your fist. And
not a football, right?
Not a
Not a bowling ball.
Mm-hmm.
How about a volleyball?
No.
Okay, well, just want to make sure of that.
Yep. So oftentimes we just overeat, and we overeat carbohydrates, which is going to set us up to want to eat relatively soon again. Now, if we're timing our meals, one of the most important times to consume calories, of course, is going to be after exercise. When you exercise, you're burning the glycogen out of the muscles and out of the liver, and that needs to be replaced for the next time you exercise or to refuel your system for the next day. And there's really kind of like a 90-minute window post-exercise where the body is going to be more amenable to taking up carbohydrates and using them effectively without causing this elevation of insulin and putting the body in a fat storing state. So that 90-minute window post exercise is also very important.
It is, and it's because the cells which hold energy utilizing molecules called glycogen would be like your liver cells and your muscle cells. So technically speaking, if you did any sort of activity, it would deplete those things, meaning that we could receive the glucose from the body that's converted from carbohydrates and proteins and let it get driven in there to our cells to be stored for later. It's important to understand, though, that hunger or true appetite can be triggered by many things. It can be triggered because you're having a lot of activity you're doing, muscle breakdown, things you're going through. Many times we tend to fall for the faux hunger when it's really boredom, or we think it's just
We're
time
chewing
to
on
eat.
something emotionally.
Yeah, it's a good way to put it. And then sometimes we're just it's almost like a task we feel like we have to do.
Yeah.
I go back to a simple illustration I've always thought. When God made Adam and Eve and he put them in the garden, and there was food there, did he ever tell them they need to eat certain times a day or certain frequencies? The answer is no. And even when Noah hopped off the boat after the world was destroyed with the flood, God did not tell them to eat certain times a day. There's nothing in there that I see in history other than recent history that tells us we have to eat certain times a day. And frankly, you get right down to it from a physiological standpoint, this small frequent meal stuff that we're being told to as a universal, that's inherently and patently false, because it gets us in all kinds of trouble over the course of time because we're not allowing our body to rest.
Well, in dinner, the last meal of the day or the closure of the day, it's important to make sure that we're, oftentimes eating before 6 p.m.
Yeah.
and that we're having a lower glycemic intake, because we don't want to put insulin on board and make insulin scream out of control through the night, because insulin, not only does it take blood sugar down, but it puts the body in a fat storing state, and it does not allow the system to clean itself up through the night.
Well, that's very true. And I think that another rule of thumb is when you do eat, don't worry so much about frequency. Worry about this idea of bigger in the morning, smaller in the afternoon, and even smallest at night. And then give yourself a gap there, about 2 or 3 hours if you can, at least between your last meal and time you go to bed. By just doing that and truly understanding the hunger mechanism and responding to it appropriately, you're going to find out that the idea of meal frequency and meal timing can be not difficult at all. So hopefully it's helped you with understanding this more. Hopefully it gave you some way to live with more stress, less in your life regarding this, so you're not like looking at your watch all the time. So we appreciate you guys listening to this all the time, and hope this information really is helpful for you.
Creatine, is it healthy?
Is it not? Does it help the aging process?
One of our favorite supplements, and why, coming up next.
Our flagship product is called Kingdom Fuel. Tell us a little bit about Kingdom Fuel and why it's so good.
We saw people struggling with the idea and concept of it's too expensive to eat healthy. So we thought, okay, that's the problem. Let's find a solution. So we found a solution for $5 or under per meal. And that represented the birth of the idea of Kingdom Fuel. So Kingdom Fuel is organic pea protein. It's got greens and reds in it. So this is the phytonutrients from green plants and red plants that we all talk about. Eat your vegetables, right? It's also got vitamins and minerals in it. So it's got a complete complex of that. And it's got also soluble and insoluble fiber, which the difference between the two is profound. Soluble actually gathers moisture and makes you full. And the insoluble goes through the system and grabs things like damaged particles.
The body runs on nutrients. It doesn't run on medication. And Kingdom Fuel is a complete multivitamin and mineral. I don't know about you, but I have to have that cup of coffee in the morning. And Kingdom Cup is mold free, it is pesticide free, and it is organic. It's got this flavor that is delicious. You don't even have to put cream or sweetener in it.
And it's Kingdom Cup with a K,
K.
right? So this is important. 50% of all coffee at least contains mold. And this is a key thing. That's in bean form, right? So you're going to be a little grinder. They're just a few bucks. Grind it up, put it in your maker, and make it. Why did we go with the bean form, the whole bean? Because ultimately the powder form is the one that gathers the most moisture. And that means the more potential mold development. So this is actually organic, mold-free, certified. It's got a little certificate with it. That's important because ultimately people drink coffee. It's cultural. And so we tried to meet the culture where it is and create a healthy alternative. What if you knew of one thing you could do to help maintain muscle tissue longer in life? Knowing that muscle tissue retention later in life yields more mobility, probably increase in metabolism, and quite possibly an increase in the quality of life. What if you knew about that one thing? What would it be? It is creatine.
Well, creatine, in the form of creatine monohydrate, can come into the system and help volumize muscle tissue. Well, what do I mean by that? It helps improve the power with which you can push weight with, which will improve keeping lean muscle on your frame. Now, creatine does decline with age, and it declines more rapidly once we hit our 40s and 50s and after the hormone signal starts to decline. So the effects of creatine can be very important in maintaining lean muscle mass and strength. We know that the loss of muscle mass is frailty, and frailty is a disease. So who wouldn't want to take a little creatine?
Well, it makes sense. People need to know this is not a foreign substance. It's actually created in the body, it's stored in the body, and it's found in actual foods that we eat, like proteins. It's found in meats, etc. But over the course of time, the ability to synthesize it or make it, store it in the body is actually something that goes down. And that's sort of this life and death/decay process of this thing we call the dirt suit or the temple. But nonetheless, it's a very, very good nutrient. And we were just talking about it. Even today, we exercised before we came here to the studio. We both took creatine. We take it pretty much every day. I think it's it's most well studied out there, but it actually does a lot for the body. And frankly, it's one that I think most people should be doing.
Well, it's got some, studies that show that it improves or it helps injury prevention in tendons, ligaments, and even in nerve compression. It can aid healing in those areas. Also for brain function and cognition. There is some research behind the utilization of creatine for memory.
Well, there's no question we need creatine. I know a lot of people that maybe are science, maybe biochemistry, biohacking nerds. You might look out there in the methylation pathway. You're going to see that actually is where creatine is created. And even by taking creatine, for those of you that are like going, what? Wait, for those of you that know what we're talking about, I'm not going to describe it today, but just know, if you take creatine, you can salvage methyl groups, which will help you detoxify better and actually manage stress better and repair your DNA better. So there's a whole connection there. How much creatine do you recommend people take?
That's a good question because it's going to be different for the health of the person, the health of their digestive system, and the age of the person as well.
And people are going to ask us, and you're thinking, well, how much do they take? I take 5 grams, sometimes about 7 per day. How much
Is
do you
that
take?
one scoop before and after your workout, or are you actually doing that through your workout?
I've done it both ways. I've done about 2.5 or 3 grams before workout and about 2.5 or 3 after. I did that back when we had the ability to take that in capsule form. We don't have that anymore. Now we got powder, so I've just been taking 5 grams to 7 grams at once. And I haven't seen any difference, of course, with which one works better. But I just know the chemistry behind it, the biochemistry behind it. So I'm going to do it. And it's something that we know without question. Even back when we were growing up, this is way back in the old physique days,
Yes.
creatine's been around for 50 years. It's not something that's new, like, oh my gosh, this is a brand new discovery. They've improved delivery methods. It doesn't really require a loading phase now. You could just take it and get it. I suspect probably the reason it does help with strength is because it helps the muscles hold more water inside those from an intracellular standpoint. So that gives them the ability to hold volume. Volume provides strength, so it can hold the volume of muscle. So that's probably why it works, I would suspect, at least one of the major reasons. But it's a good supplement to take.
Well, and we know that creatine, phosphocreatine in the system is one of the ways that the body utilizes to make energy in the background, of course, besides the Krebs cycle. So it is important in helping muscle, when it's undergoing anaerobic activity, produce energy. It also, of course, we can't really say athletic performance, but if we are maintaining lean muscle mass and we are providing more fluid in the muscle, it would stand to reason that you're able to push more weight and have better endurance.
Well, there's no doubt about that. And creatine is great. I mean, it's not something that's going to hurt us. It's something that's going to help us. And it just makes sense that the more we age in life, I'm talking about the chronological aging process, the more nutritional adjuncts or additives or supplements we need, because we're not getting the adequacy of production. People say all the time, well, I don't want to take another pill, yada, yada. I don't want another powder. I put the powder creatine normally in Kingdom Fuel. Sometimes I put it in a brand new product we're going to be coming out with for everybody to have. It's called Kingdom Energy, and we're going to put some in there as well. So we're excited about the idea of using creatine to help create energy, get it in your system all the time, and make it easy as far as a delivery method. It's something that you should be considering if you have young athletes in the family. Consider putting that on them. If you're a weekend warrior, do that. But if you're just a general Joe Q public, you need it too. So creatine helps the muscles, helps energy. I can't think of anything
Does a
better
body
than that.
good.
There you go.
You're born with a certain set of genes, not just your blue genes. Let's talk about how to hack our genetics.
Secrets to longevity next. Kingdom Candy with a K again. 2 flavors. We got salted
Delicious.
caramel and peanut butter. These are great. I mean, they're
kind of like a complete meal.
they're 200 calories. People want to know that all the time, and not that we're worried about calories, but these things have great ingredients. They're not sweetened with sugars. They don't have those false sugars or fake sugars, artificial
They've got
sugars.
fiber in them.
They do. It's interesting. Salted caramel crunch is our newest flavor. We'll come up with some other stuff at some point, but those can bridge the gap of that sweet tooth craving. They're sweetened with monk fruit, and that's really, if you know what that is, it's not going to raise blood sugar.
It's really only 2 grams of sugar. I refer to it as the sweet without the cheat.
Any of these things out here are designed to be money-saving, nutrition-giving, and life-enhancing. And this is a big deal. So you'll find out, like thousands of other people did, that these things will help you live healthy longer. Now we have it. Kingdom Crunch.
It's important to start breakfast off with a power-packed punch. You want a complete amino acid score, good protein. If you turn the label over and look at the back of the box, there is no added sugars in either one of these flavors, either peanut butter or acai bowl.
Peanut butter has 11 grams of high-quality protein. Acai bowl has 8. Peanut butter has 11 grams of carbohydrate, acai bowl 12, and both of them have good solid fat content at 6 grams. Very filling, very healthy.
You will be fueling yourself with high quality fuel, starting off the day right. You can even use Kingdom Crunch as a snack in the middle of the day if you just have a craving and you want to eat something that is good for you, it has a crunch, and doesn't have a lot of calories.
There you go. Diabetic friendly, keto friendly, paleo friendly, Kingdom Crunch, and
Child friendly. Let's get real. Most emergency food is just as bad for you as any other choice in the standard American diet. And that's just sad.
We don't just need food, we need highly nutritional food.
We don't just want to survive food shortages, we are meant to thrive in adversity.
Complete your daily nutrition and have shelf-stable Kingdom Fuel as a cornerstone of your food supply.
Don't sacrifice your health or your taste buds.
Stock up on Kingdom Fuel now.
Have you ever wondered about your DNA and how you can hack longevity, feel better longer, and have life in your years? DNA testing is a way to go.
We use that a lot. A lot of people don't understand that and what it means. Now, I've heard it said in comments before, I have bad genes or I must have bad genes. We don't look at it like that. We run a very comprehensive, complete panel. And for us, the way we look at it is, I want to know what your genes say, what they're telling me. Genes are very old. We'll talk about some age of those things in a moment, but keep this in perspective. They've changed 2% in 10,000 years. That's all. So these are old informational pieces that inside of us that give us information today that can help us set the tone for tomorrow. So I want to know what they say. I want to know what they do. And it's actually pretty helpful. I don't look at them as bad at all. I look at them as information sources to help me understand the person better.
Well, it's actually helped me hack a lot of things as I've slowly passed the 50-yard dash line into how can I take better care of what I was gifted with at birth. And these things help me understand that the genes are the loaded gun and the environment or what I put on them or how I treat this genetic information, that's actually what pulls the trigger. And so understanding these different sections in our genetic panel help us improve longevity by how we treat the system.
I've used this analogy to describe genes for a long time, and I like it's we have fun with it. We call it the damn gene analogy, right? So, but here's the deal, and I want people to catch this when you look at this. So, I want you to picture a river that's downstream. Okay. You and I are living in this downstream location. When the water comes up in our house, we go to the doctor and we say, doctor, I've got this going on. The doctor will throw you a sandbag, which will help you protect the water coming in your house. But when you get more water come back, you go back and get another sandbag. But did it ever determine at that point in time what created the elevation of that water in the first place? So remember, we're downstream. You come back upstream and you find this wall that's called the dam. And above the dam, you find your reservoir. Well, your dam is synonymous with your genes, and the reservoir is synonymous with the environment. The flood was caused by the environment changing, going through the genes to create the expression or the river flood going up. So when you understand how the genes work, you look at your individual dam, and each individual dam is different. They function differently. So if we know that, then we also know what we can control by the environment. We can make some changes environmentally, then begin to, knowing and understand the genes like we do, create a predictable flow downstream, which gives us the idea to create disease resilience.
So the sections that we actually look at in the genetics can help us empower longevity. For example, an individual with a weak detoxification system or weak genes in the area of detox, they probably need to really watch the pollution load that they take in so that the toxic load inside is less because they can't get rid of it. They may need to go through detoxification on a regular basis. A person who has a very highly inflamed system. Inflammation is good. If you have a cut, a cough, a cold, a bruise, a broken bone, you want the system to come to the rescue aggressively. But if we put the standard American diet on top of a highly inflamed system, that's chronic inflammation on top of chronic inflammation. And that's the precursor to all chronic sickness and disease. So we can start to remedy some of these things that if we know what to do, we can calm the storm on the inside so that the system doesn't rust in real time faster than it should. There's another section called methylation. Talk a little bit about methylation. Everybody's heard about the MTHFR gene. Is that a disease?
No, MTHFR is not a disease. It's very common. Every single human being has the MTHFR gene. It's called methylene tetrahydrofolate reductase. It's got a big old name, but it's an enzyme that we all have, and everybody in these enzymes, these are proteins, they're made from our genetic recipes. So that's kind of cool that we're all different with our recipes, but in that we're all 99.9% identical in our human DNA. But in that 0.1%, 0.1 of a 10%, just 1/10%, all these different various combinations can make these enzymes or SNPs or single nucleotide changes to these enzymes function a little bit differently. And so with methylation, it helps with mood. A lot of people are tying that section to depression, genetic repair, cancers, etc. So I want to know that. I also want to know about my weight loss resistance genes, and you can actually tweak a diet, tweak an exercise program to really get those things moving. The information we get there is immense.
So if somebody wants to look at their genetics, they're going to start to crack the code of how they can age more gracefully, or how they can help their system not rust in real time quicker.
Yep.
Where on earth would they find this genetic test?
Just so happens. No, you can reach out to us. We do this a lot. We are experts in this area of nutrigenetics, nutrigenomics. That's the science behind it. We've been instructed internationally for almost a decade now with this. So reach right out to us at our website, sherwood.tv, and you can actually get your genetics run, and then we'll go through that with you and really give you some of these insights. Look, everybody needs to do this. I feel strongly about that, and I know my wife does too. So this can be the key to unlocking the code to your longevity.
Our flagship product is called Kingdom Fuel. Tell us a little bit about Kingdom Fuel and why it's so good.
We saw people struggling with the idea and concept of it's too expensive to eat healthy. So we thought, okay, that's the problem. Let's find a solution. So we found a solution for $5 or under per meal. And that represented the birth of the idea of Kingdom Fuel. So Kingdom Fuel is organic pea protein. It's got greens and reds in it. So this is the phytonutrients from green plants and red plants that we all talk about. Eat your vegetables, right? It's also got vitamins and minerals in it. So it's got a complete complex of that. And it's got also soluble and insoluble fiber, which the difference between the two is profound. Soluble actually gathers moisture and makes you full. And the insoluble goes through the system and grabs things like damaged particles.
The body runs on nutrients. It doesn't run on medication. And Kingdom Fuel is a complete multivitamin and mineral. Can a shake transform your life?
Well, if it helps you invest in your health on a daily basis, the answer is
Yes!
consistency is key, and there's not a better, simpler way to begin your change.
That's why we offer a bunch of helpful bonuses when you subscribe to Kingdom Fuel.
Kingdom Fuel is our complete nutritional meal shake.
It's the simple start to a transformed life.
We'll auto-ship every month so you don't run out.
You'll receive 2 free shaker cups, free access to our video courses, and a monthly call with us filled with practical inspiration.
Just see the link below or on your screen and subscribe today.